Welcome to the Pawtucket Red Sox Weekend Review for May 23, 2017. This is Adam Blue for CLNS, a leading online provider of audiovisual coverage for the Boston Red Sox. After starting the month of May with 5 wins in their first 6 games, the PawSox continued to hit an extremely rough patch last week, dropping 6 of their 7 contests. Their pitching, which allowed less than 3 runs a game during the first 2 weeks of the month, gave up 7 or more runs in the first 5 games last week, which were all losses. The rough week started on Monday night, with the PawSox losing 8-4 in 12 innings on a walk-off grand slam by Scranton Wilkes-Barre catcher Eddie Rodriguez. Pawtucket looked to be on their way to breaking a 4-game losing streak, as they held a lead in the bottom of the 9th inning before Blaine Boyer blew a save opportunity. The blown save cost Brian Johnson a chance at his 3rd win of the season, as he gave up 3 runs on 7 hits in 6 1/3 innings to lower his ERA to 2.92. Reliever Chandler Shepard escaped a bases-loaded jam in the 11th inning, but filled up the bags yet again in the 12th before being replaced by Brandon Workman, who allowed the Granny to end the game. The PawSox mustered up just 8 hits in 12 innings, with Steve Selsky, Sam Travis, and Dan Butler each going 2 for 5. Selsky hit a 2-run homer in the 3rd to cap a 3-run inning, with Rusney Castillo and Ryan Court adding RBIs in the 3rd and 6th for Pawtucket's other runs. The PawSox woes continued on Tuesday night as they lost for the 6th consecutive time in a 7-2 loss at Scranton. Starting pitcher Henry Owens was roughed up for 5 runs on 6 hits and 7 walks in just 4 2/3 innings in the loss. Marcus Walden, who entered the game with the 5th lowest ERA in the International League, gave up 2 runs in 2 1/3 innings, which raised his ERA nearly a half a run to 2.43. Travis continued to strive in the middle of the PawSox order, as he produced his 11th multi-hit game of the season with 2 hits, including a solo homer to left field in the 8th inning. Second baseman Mike Miller had the other RBI for Pawtucket, who fell to 15 and 19 with yet another loss. The PawSox blew another late lead on Wednesday night, as the home Rail Riders scored 3 times in the bottom of the 8th inning en route to a 9-8 victory at PNC Field. Both starting pitchers, Pawtucket's Sean Haviland and Scranton's Luis Cesa, allowed 6 runs in their no decisions, as the game was knotted at 6-6 entering the last 2 innings. The PawSox scored twice in the top of the 8th on an RBI single by Court and a fielder's choice by Matt Dominguez. But relievers Edgar Olmos and Noe Ramirez blew the lead, with Ramirez allowing a 2-run go-ahead homer by Eddie Rodriguez, who had 3 homers in the first 3 games of the series. Castillo hit his 4th homer of the season for Pawtucket in the 3rd inning, while Travis launched a 3-run blast to center field in the 5th. Travis had 2 hits, 3 runs scored, a walk, and a steal to continue being one of Pawtucket's bright spots amidst its losing streak. Travis continued to rake on Thursday afternoon as he collected 5 hits as the PawSox and Rail Riders engaged in a slugfest to end their series. Trailing 10-5 in the 9th inning, the visitors scored 5 times, capped by a game-tying grand slam by Dominguez, but allowed their 2nd walk-off hit of the series on an RBI double by Clint Frazier, who was one of the top prospects in the majors. Travis's 5 hits was a career high, and the first baseman ended the series hitting .579 with 11 hits, 3 doubles, a homer, and 7 runs batted in. Castillo led off the game with a solo home run, giving him blasts in back-to-back games and vaulting him to the top of the PawSox with his 5 jacks this year. He also doubled and scored the first of Pawtucket's 5 runs in the 9th on an RBI single from Court, who had 3 hits in the loss. Kyle Kendrick was awful as he returned from his stint in Boston, allowing 7 runs on 9 hits in just 3 innings, with the PawSox late theatrics saving him from an ugly loss. David Price, Pablo Sandoval, and Brock Holt started on Friday night for Pawtucket, but the result of the game was eerily similar to others this week. The PawSox trailed early, scored in the 9th inning to force extras, then gave up another walk-off hit to suffer their 9th straight defeat. Dominguez once again tied the game in the 9th with an RBI single, but second baseman Mike Miller ended up allowing a 2-run walk-off homer in the 13th in the 7-5 loss. Both teams resorted to using position players as pitchers during the lengthy battle, with Buffalo outfielder Ian Parmalee picking up the win. Castillo led the way with 3 hits for Pawtucket, while Miller and Dominguez added multi-hit games in the loss. Price was scheduled to throw 85 to 90 pitches after his first scheduled rehab start was postponed, but lasted just 2 innings after tossing 65 pitches and allowing 3 runs. He did strike out the side in the first after leadoff hitter Jake Elmore doubled following a 15-pitch at bat. Price allowed a home run to Bison's catcher Rafi Lopez in the second and a 2-run single from Elmore before departing after 2 innings. He said he felt great in both innings and felt good after the game and will make one more start with the PawSox next week before possibly returning to Boston. Sandoval was 0 for 3 serving as the DH in his first rehab appearance, while Holt was 1 for 4 with a run scored starting in left field. The PawSox losing streak finally came to an end on Saturday afternoon, as MLB veteran Brian Bogusovic drove in the game-winning run in the top of the 9th inning in Pawtucket's 5-3 win. Bogusovic, who has played for the Astros, Cubs, and Phillies, played at court with a double, then scored on a wild pitch to add an insurance run. Austin Maddox earned his first win of the season in relief of starter Brian Johnson, who tossed another strong outing, allowing just 2 earned runs, 3 total, in 7 2/3 innings. Castillo continued his strong week, mashing his 3rd homer in the last 4 days on a 2-run shot to center field. Sandoval played 5 innings at third base, going 1 for 3, while Holt was the DH in his 13th game of rehab as he continues to deal with ongoing vertigo symptoms. Pawtucket ended the week with a tough 2-1 loss on Sunday, as Henry Owens tossed 6 solid innings, yet earned his 3rd loss of the season. Owens gave up single runs in the 4th and 6th inning, but his offense could only muster up a solo homer from Holt to lose for its 10th time in its last 11 games. Owens' control was much better on Sunday than in his last outing, as he walked just 3 while hitting 1 batter after allowing 7 free passes in 4 2/3 innings on Tuesday night. The Bisons took the lead for good in the 6th, when catcher Rafi Lopez hit his 2nd homer of the season. Ryan Court extended his hitting streak to 8 games with a single in the 9th inning, raising his average to .303 to lead the PawSox. Pawtucket's 1-6 week dropped them further behind in the North Division, as their 16-23 mark is now the 3rd worst in the International League. They are 11 games out of first place and just 3 games out of the cellar. They have lost 8.5 games in just 2 weeks, as they were 13-13 on May 8th, but just 3-10 since then. The PawSox will face opposite ends of the International League next week at McCoy Stadium, as they start out with the 3 games set with the 15-28 Louisville Bats, and end with a 4-game series with the 28-14 Durham Bulls. Their series with Louisville begins on Tuesday and ends with an early 11 a.m. game on Thursday. They will then face Durham for 4 games, with the final one on Memorial Day. David Price is scheduled to take the hill in Pawtucket on Wednesday evening, with the 6:05 p.m. start expected to garner lots of fanfare, weather permitting yet again. The PawSox also made news last week by announcing that they reached an agreement to keep the team in the city of Pawtucket through at least 2050 if a plan for a new ballpark is approved. The PawSox would commit $45 million to the project, which is believed to be the largest private contribution to a public ballpark in AAA history. PawSox chairman Larry Lucchino stated that the ballpark at Slater Mill would be a city park, open year-round, with possibilities for football in the fall, hockey in the winter, concerts in the summer, and joggers during road trips. Check back in with me next week for a recap of all the PawSox action. And be sure to check out the pre- and post-game coverage of all 162 games of the Boston Red Sox season with the Sox Beat team here at CLNS, along with some lively discussions during our roundtables and the Red Sox Beat Weekly podcast. You can also get tons of coverage from the Celtics' epic comeback win in Game 3, along with press conferences, news, and recaps from the rest of the Eastern Conference Finals as they happen from the Celtics staff at CLNS. This has been Adam Blue for CLNS.